Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Mosky here again with another beer review for you, as is usual. Now for this one we're going to go back to Germany, to Hannover to be specific, and this is my first German beer review for you since I actually came home from Germany. So we're going to go to Herrenhäuser Privatbrauerei in Hannover and have a taste of their premium Pilsener beer. And also in this video I want to thank Jonathan Blow, who he brought this beer back from me from Hannover when he went over to visit his girlfriend. So a big thank you to Jonathan for providing me with this beer, and I also have another Herrenhäuser beer, a Hefeweizen, that I'll review for you in the near future as well. So a big thank you to Jonathan for enabling me to make this video. But as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll take you through a brief history of the brewery and tell you a little bit about where it comes from and all of that sort of thing. But as I always say, if you are simply just interested in the tasting of this beer, feel free to go on towards the second half of the video where you will catch that. And as always, the brewery website is in the video description for you below. Now, the history of this brewery goes back to the year 1868 when the parent company of the brewery, Brauerei Wulfer und Wedekind Herrenhäusen, was established as a general partnership. Now, 1871 saw the establishment of the Hanoverian Aktienbrauerei, which would later merge with the Hausen Brewery in 1906. But the brewery changed their name to Brauerei Herrenhausen F. Wulfer in 1878, and by this point the brewery was reportedly worth a net value of 220,000 marks, so quite sizable for only being in existence for a very short period of time. But the brewery was then reorganised and named Aktiengesellschaft Vereinsbrauerei Herrenhausen in 1880, so a lot of reorganisation was going on with the brewery in the very early days. But the brewery produced their first prominent beer in the year 1884, which was in the Pilsner style, and this actually won first place in the German Brewery Exhibition in Hannover. And they also established their brew pub in Auschanks with a beer garden that year, and they later constructed a larger brewery in 1886. This brewery was actually steam powered, and they added electric systems to the brewery over the following year. But in this early period the brewery grew very significantly, and they actually purchased two railway wagons in 1890, and this was also the foundation year of the Association of Brewers in Hannover as well. So this is a big thing the German breweries like to point out, was when they brought their first railway carriages for their brewery to transport their beer around. But as mentioned earlier, the brewery acquired the Hanoverian Aktienbrauerei in 1906, and then 2 years later in 1908 they were accepted into the Association of German Brewers, and they purchased their first road lorry in 1911 as well. And by 1913, just before the outbreak of the First World War, their brewing output was exceeding 120,000 hectolitres per year. By 1917, just before the end of the war, the company was part of a three-membered consortium in buying the German brewery in Germany brewery in Hannover actually, and it took 1/5. They also took 1/5 of the civil brewery of Hannover as well, and both of these breweries were actually closed down. But the brewery had actually been in a legal dispute, if you like, over the use of their title Mansions Pilsner with another brewery there for one of their beers. But they finally won their case at the Imperial Court in 1930, and a few years later in 1934 they introduced diesel power to the brewery. However, in 1939 a war levy was actually imposed on the brewery's products, and then after the war in 1945 the brewery was restricted to brewing special beers for the occupying Commonwealth soldiers in north of Germany. Now, over the following years the brewery began to re-equip and reconstruct new facilities, including a new bottling facility, a fermentation cellar, storage cellars and steam turbines, and they also built a new office facility in the 1950s as well. In the 1960s the brewery production had exceeded 300,000 hectolitres per year, and the brewery had the capacity to actually bottle 70,000 bottles per hour, although their brewing wasn't actually meeting that standard quite as of yet. But the early 1970s saw another renewal of the facilities in the brew house and the construction of more buildings, and they also patented a special roller train system that reportedly gave them the fastest loading and unloading times for their trucks and railway wagons for any brewery in Germany, and this made them huge savings with their vehicle fleet apparently. It sounds like quite a cool and innovative thing actually. In the 1980s, the company produced a twist bottle cap, and they converted their draft beer system to a new keg system, and they also closed their brewery restaurant that I mentioned a little while ago, and they demolished the building for that as well. And in the 1990s they actually didn't do very much. They only just incorporated a new corporate logo, and they introduced their ice beers as well, and they were further expanding their capacity so that they could make full use of that kind of innovative bottling system that they had too. Now, 2010 actually saw the brewery ownership change. However, all employees remained and the brewery operations went uninterrupted, but at this point the brewery was actually renamed with its current name, which is Privatbrauerei Herrenhäuser. And recently they've also introduced several green policies to the company, and this is quite common in Germany. Their main one that they talk about here is that it includes a modern gas steam boiler, which they use to heat the whole building, as well as using the heat for the actual brewing process too. And they're in the process of converting their brewery to use a lot more kind of green means for producing energy and things like that. So this is quite common in Germany, as I've mentioned to you with my German beer reviews before. A lot of them like to implement green policy, and I think it's actually law in Germany now that they have to do that. But anyway, that's your brief sort of history of the Privatbrauerei Herrenhäuser. Quite an interesting one actually, not quite as colourful as some of the other ones you'll get from Germany, but interesting nonetheless. But just to list the other beers you can get from this brewery, you can obviously get this guy, which is the Premium Pilsner. You get the ice beer as well, the Spezial, the Weizen, which I'll review for you at a later date, and you can also get the Hannover Stolz Export, and there's one called Alster as well. So hopefully I can get more of those in the future for you, but the next one that I'll review for you will be the Weizen beer. But let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting here. I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the bottle art here. Now it's got a red stallion on the front, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that might be one of the symbols of the city of Hanover here, and this is again on the bottle cap on the bottle here as well. So it's quite nicely done, and it's quite a nice kind of typically clean German presentation on the bottle here. No back label to it, of course, but I'm a little confused as to why it's in, instead of being in, this guy apparently is a 0.33 litre bottle, a common measurement to use in Germany, but it's in one of these sort of stumpy Belgian bottles, if you like, which I'm not too sure about. But let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting anyway. So it's a 4.9% Pilsner. Again, that's a standard sort of alcoholic unit of measurement in Germany. As you can see, it's a nice little smoky opening. But let's get it out and see how we get on here. And again, thank you to Jonathan Blow for providing me with this beer. I'm quite looking forward to trying it. He spoke quite highly of this one. He says it's quite a nice pils, if you like. So let's just get the rest of it out and get on with this then. And I'm a great fan of the German Pilsner style, and also the Helles beers as well. So actually smells quite fresh when you open it up there. You can see very, very clear golden colour, just a half finger of kind of white frothy head. There's a few bigger bubbles in there too, but it's kind of definitely, it's very, very clear actually. Just a little bit of carbonation going on through it there, which is quite interesting. I hope my dad's fax machine shuts up. I don't know why he still uses it. But oh, stupid thing. It's a pain when it does that, really, really annoying. I don't know why it does that, but as you can see, a really nice kind of clear style of beer. And let's get it out. Let's just give it a taste actually and a smell. But it kind of smells quite bready. Very kind of bready aroma there with some nice kind of cereal grain in it there. Yeah, a lot of grainy and bready malts in it. Maybe just a little hint of citrus, but it does have that kind of sweet cereal aroma to it. That's sticking out quite a bit. But there's a nice little bit of kind of grassy hop in there too. It smells like a typically kind of mass-produced Pilsner, but hopefully it's quite a nice one. Yeah, in terms of a mass-produced Pilsner, it is actually quite nice. Yeah, on the taste, you're getting a lot of that kind of typical sweet bready malt with the grain, pardon me, the grain kind of just mixed into it quite nicely. Yeah, it is actually, I would say that's quite fair. For a mass-produced Pilsner, it is actually quite a good one. Obviously, this kind of beer isn't as good as the ones as you get in the little German brew pubs and stuff like that. But it is a nice, for what it is, for a mass-produced Pilsner, it is actually quite a nice beer. But yeah, you're opening up with a little bit of sweet bready malt, quite a bit of grain mixed in there as well. The corn sweetness that you can detect in the aroma isn't quite there in the flavour with this one. But at the end you're getting a nice little bit of kind of fresh and kind of grassy hops there, just with a little bit of citrus in it as well. On the finish, you're getting the sort of bready malts and the cereal coming out again, and you've got just a little bit of the kind of grassy and citric freshness around the edge of the tongue there. It's quite nice actually. But the thing I'm noticing with the flavour of this guy is, and I'm sure Jonathan said this to me at the time, was that it's very, very fresh. And I would agree with him on that point. I do think it is a very nice and fresh beer. In terms of the mouthfeel with this guy, Definitely very light bodied actually. It's a very easy drinking beer. It's a good sort of summer drinking beer, I would say. It's got kind of soft carbonation, very easy drinking. It's got a slightly oily mouthfeel to it like that, and that sort of helps to bring out the kind of cereal flavour that mixes in with the malt base. But yeah, it's really nice actually, I would say. In terms of a mass-produced Pilsner, this is quite a nice one. And the Germans, as I've said in many video reviews that I've done for you before of the sort of mass-produced German beers, the Germans are probably the masters of these mass-produced beers. The best tasting ones do come from Germany, whereas if you go to a lot of other countries, they're really not very good when it comes to their big beers. But obviously, as I've said in many videos, the craft beers do taste better because of the small batch and the higher volume of hops and malts that they put into these things. But for what it is, as I say, a mass-produced Pilsner, it does come out very well. It's very, very fresh, but it's actually quite a nice example of a mass-produced beer, I would say. It's up in the higher echelons of the mass-produced beer category. So, if you do get the chance to go to Hannover, check out these beers, see what you think of them. If you do happen to have tried it yourself, please let me know in the comments section below. Always interesting to hear your views on the beer, in fact. And a big thank you again to Jonathan Blow, one of my old colleagues, for giving me this beer, and you will see me review the Weizen beer for you in the near future. As always though, I hope you found this beer review informative, and if you have, please like, subscribe and share, all the usual YouTube stuff. There will be more German beer reviews to follow. I think I've got about 30 German beers to review for you over the coming months, so keep an eye out for those, and I hope you found this beer review informative, and I will catch you soon with another one. Cheers.